Okay, so let's shift on to our reflection right now. And what I'm going to do before you add anything to this page on a reflection for takeaways, I'm actually going to bump this to a whiteboard. So by selecting this, I'm going to expand to whiteboard. It now says you can enjoy all the space. You see on my screen, I can zoom out, I can zoom in. There's a little scroll bar at the bottom that you can use to go in or out. And now, if I delete the coffee in my search bar and I click elements, you'll see that I have a bank of sticky notes, lines and shapes, and even whiteboard graphics. So I do have some things down here. You'd have to select to duplicate those to use. So I would recommend, I'm going to add some sticky notes here. When you click one, if you notice, it'll land right to the center. So as soon as you click one, you just want to move it to the side. I'm also going to generate some sticky notes just so that they are accessible for you too. And if you double click in the sticky note, you'll be able to add your thoughts. So let's reflect on just one of these here. I can't seem to move my sticky note at the moment. There we go. If you want to use one of the sticky notes that are here on the side, you can also hit the plus sign. It will just auto-generate more sticky notes. So I do see a question kind of developing in here about personal accounts. So there is not a way to merge any accounts, unfortunately, not at this time. So it's not to say that it will not be down the road. So sometimes we have come in to find that people had used their school email address to set up for either an educator account or a personal account. So if you did that, you might see from your Canva homepage, you might see that you have more than one team. So you might have to toggle between the two. That can happen. So you can see here, like I have some other teams that I could toggle to. The only way, you can't merge an entire account, but you can copy designs from one account to another. So along with our resources, I can include that as a resource too. You'll get all the pro features for free in your Canva for Education account. But ideally, you want to work in your Canva for District Education account and try to move things over. And I've always kept two accounts. Like I do have my personal, because I have a business, I keep my pro account with all my business related materials. So some people do opt to have their outside of school personal account. And then some people just want to take full advantage of Canva for Education. Going back to adding students to a class, we really aren't adding students in here to Canva. Your students are rostered. They're in your Canvas Learning Management System account. Clever does have an integration with Canva, though. There is an integration with Clever and Canva. So if there's an issue with the Canva Clever integration, we will want to loop in your district education advocate. So Whitney, if there's anything pertaining to that, keep me posted, because we can loop in your DEA and just make sure that everything's running smoothly.
Yeah.
So I can see, like, if I want to see which students are saying what, on some of the sticky notes, I can totally see initials, and some of them I cannot.
Liz, one of the questions in here was that we can see the initials of some of the other folks in here on some of the sticky notes, but we can't see initials on some of the sticky notes, the other ones.
Right. So what happens is that it'll depend on, like, you'll see, like, if I click on this, I can see Denise's whole name, but depending on where it moves, it'll be the initials. As soon as somebody clicks off of it, the initials will not be there. So the only time you'll know who's writing something or adding something is when they're actively on it. So later on, if you had something there, you might not know unless you had students type their name in first. So I have had people do that. I've also seen teachers populate their own sticky notes and put a student's name on each if they wanted to. And then kids would move their own sticky notes over. So that's just the way that it's been developed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, for sharing designs from one account to another, would it just be, I mean, or copying, would it just be easiest to share?
You could share. I mean, you could definitely do that. What they typically do is
you dump everything like all in one folder and then share the folder.
You might be able to. So if you shared that folder with yourself, everything would be in the folder. What you'd probably want to do, though, so what I would advise, that's actually a really good idea, but I think what I would advise still is duplicating things so they become your own, because let's say your own personal account, for whatever reason, that was gone, then you might lose access even though you'd shared, possibly. I'd have to think on that one.
Okay.
And then I do see Allison has a question in the chat. How can other educators in different districts get an educator account if they are not linked through their district? So Canva does have an option where individual teachers, if they're some districts, we're very backlogged at Canva. We have so many districts that we've been onboarding. And so there is an option that educators can be verified through their individual education email address. So that's one option that they can use Canva in that way. But typically what happens is that they might do that, and then down the road, eventually they'll get Canva for districts. That gives you the single sign-on. It allows you to have all your brand templates, and you have much more functionality than you would in that individual account. If, though, anybody here today has any product, like, and I will also, that will be included as well. If there are ever any product feedback that you guys have, if you want it to work a certain way or you want it to do anything different, that product feedback is always well received from Canva. They want to hear from you. They are always making updates and adjustments. I know that one of the biggest things that comes up a lot is about creating classes and groups and sharing. So if you have feedback on that and what you'd like to see, that's a great one for you to share. So I'm just going to close out with our presentation here. Oh, my slides I don't know what's going on. You can see on my slides right now, I think something happened. I must have been trying to zoom in too much. See if I can get back to normal. There we go. So one handy thing too is it bumped me back to the beginning of my presentation, but it's okay. One thing that you can do when you come down to the bottom is you can see I've got my slide deck all along this at the bottom. But if I select my grid view, you can see I have access to all my slides. I can always readjust to them by simply dragging and dropping. But I can also just scroll back to where I left off and pick up. All right. So I didn't have to scroll all the way down that toggle bar. All right. So I really appreciate your time today. I appreciate the questions. Anything else you guys have that comes to mind, please feel free to forward that along to me. We do offer additional sessions such as creating and customizing material. It's a little bit more workshop-like. We do go into more of the apps and integrations. And then we also offer a session on getting your students started, in addition to deep dives on video creation and more. Linked here in this deck, you will have access to all the Canva tutorials. So everything is linked here for you. So you'll have lots of mini tutorials that will guide you on your way too. So if we don't have tons of opportunities for these type of sessions, just know that there are tons of online resources for you. We also have a Facebook teachers community. In the teachers Facebook community, Mel is our community manager. She's really fantastic. She's always sharing out new updates that you might be able to want to check out. Sometimes there's different challenges that people can win a $25 print code. And you'll also see that other teachers will share resources of what they've created. People will ask questions and respond to one another too. So it's just a great community. And of course, we do have our districts hub. So anything pertaining to your learning management, PD resources, questions, videos, and more will be linked. And then of course, we also have linked here our feedback form. So please feel free to scan and provide feedback or click the link. And that's it for our session today.